Hi, Kiko.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Hey, Walter. Hey, Billy. How's it going? Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Very good.
Hey, so Walter, when Ed, your director, came to you wanting to make a documentary on you as a musician, what was your initial thought? Like, what was going through your mind when you found this out?
Well, he actually came to Billy first because he was talking with Billy about different ideas. And then, well, maybe I should explain it this way, how this genesis happened. 40 years ago, I had a glamorous girlfriend who one night called up and said she's secretly been seeing a friend of mine. So
Okay.
I was heartbroken.
This is a
And
shame,
in
right?
the yeah, and in the midst of that heartbreak, uh, I started hearing music. I started hearing music, and it was very interesting because there were like almost completed songs, lots of melodies, harmonics, hooks, harmonies, lyrics, stuff like that. And I was entranced by the experience, and I was so fixated on it that I vowed that someday, somewhere, somehow, sometime, I would stand up on the stage and I'd actually produce those songs and actually sing them to the public, even though I was not a singer, and even though I had never had any pretense about ever singing in front of people, because it was like a terrifying prospect to do.
Right.
But I had that as a goal in life to actually produce and perform this music. 20 years after that, well, anyway, I had 138 songs come up that I wrote down and sang in the boards and stuff like that. 20 years later, after that, um, The King of Kong was filmed. And
Mhm.
I talked with Ed and Seth Gordon, the director, about how my dream was to retire from being a video game person and actually put my attention on performing and creating my music. And that was my dream. They were very intrigued by this. They were intrigued to the point that they actually put me singing my songs on acoustic guitar in The King of Kong.
Right.
So it became part of the plot. Okay, it became part of an integral part of my story. And they never forgot that. They liked my music. They were intrigued by it. And they never forgot about it. And then 20 years after that, in our modern time, I was at an event with Billy, and suddenly out of the crowd, a couple of guys walked. They were the inventors of the video game, the mobile handheld game called Color Switch, which was a big success.
Mhm.
And they said, "We remember you from the King of Kong. Whatever happened with that music?" I told them it was still my dream, but I never was able to bring it to fruition. And now, towards the end of my years, I'm worried that it'll never happen. Well, they had a lot of money. They decided that on the spot that they were going to actually produce my music and have me go into a studio and produce my music and have a CD made. And so next thing I know, I'm in the studio performing, practicing and singing and recording my music. Meanwhile, Ed Cunningham, who was interacting with Billy about some different subject matter, learned that I was actually doing the album finally after all these years. And they thought, my God, this would make a great story. Just the story of a man who never gave up his dream. And at the end of his years, finally brought his dream to fruition, proving, and the motto of the film is, it's never too late. And that's sort of was the genesis of the whole thing.
Yeah, awesome. It's interesting, Billy, because at the beginning you weren't very supportive of what Walter's new venture was, right? What changed your mind over time?
Well, I thought he was just basically talking like a kid talks,
Hmm.
about different dreams and aspirations, things that we all have within us. But then you pick and choose the things in life you're going to do. And I thought that was just something in his heart, but not something he would truly pursue. So as the years ran on, I continued to hear him occasionally bring it up. And, it's cute that he brings it up. That's fine, and then we'd move on. But he continued to do it. But then in 2014, when he finally said goodbye to refereeing and compiling video game scores and being the father of esports, he turned his attention there. And that's when I thought, after all these years, with the level of perseverance that he's shown previously in his life, the determination to make things happen, that's when I started to say, okay, this is still in his heart. He could make this happen.
Hmm.
And so that's exactly what happened. He made it happen. The question was, how would it happen? He was continuing to write songs and prepare for things. But when you have a dream, when you have a goal, and you don't have the money to make it happen, that's a hell of an obstacle.
Yeah, it is. Well,
So somebody came along with the answer to that obstacle, and then at the same time, somebody came along with the answer to that obstacle. film crews who were regularly talking to me, regularly wanting me to do different projects with them. Um, in my mind, always focusing on the wrong projects. Um, I spoke of this to a few of them, and again, it was Ed who jumped on it, who wanted to make it happen. And
Mhm.
I just kept emphasizing this has to be about Walter. It has to be about Walter. Yes, there's so many others of us that are included in this, but it has to be about Walter.
Right.
Walter's not the sideshow. Walter is the show, and we're here to support that show.
Walter, you described the journey that you take on this as a psychological adventure. I'm wondering, why do you call it that, or why did you call it that? And then also, what was it like listening to somebody like Shane speak about your relationship, especially since a lot of the music is based on the heartbreak that you
Well,
experienced with
the in the movie, the modern interaction between Shane and I was very, very heartfelt.
her.
It's a completely finer feeling, heartfelt movie. It's not an action film. At no point in the film does an alien burst from my chest or Godzilla make an appearance. It's completely not a normal action film. It's completely all about heartfelt kind of things. And it was a very, very sweet experience for me and Shane to bond and reunite there at the end and just have a common bonding of the heart.
Yeah.
And
Do
so,
do you
anyway,
ever think back to that time where she said that it was over? Do you wish that you had fought for her?
well, actually, the way I felt at that time was that I felt that the guy who was taking her away from me was actually doing me a favor because I decided that she truly didn't want to be with me and that he was saving me from a future downfall that would have been even more intense if we had
Mhm.
got married and had a child and stuff like that. So therefore, I was considering it. I didn't get mad from it at all. There's no anger. I felt sadness and I felt hurt, but at no point did I become negative about it because I felt that a good thing had happened because I've been saved from a far more serious downfall if we had gotten actually married and children and stuff like that.
Billy, when Walter left Twin Galaxies, I know what your reaction was a little bit, but what was the community overall? What was their reaction? Did you all think that uh, Twin Galaxies would survive without his leadership?
Well, when Walter's leadership was there, as you say, there was always a level of certainty. Everybody understood the direction, and it had had decades of a track record. There was a tremendous level of uncertainty. What direction would they take it? Each person who expressed interest in Twin Galaxies expressed it from a commercial or business point of view, not necessarily a gesture from the heart. Um,
Hmm.
so there was that level of uncertainty, and things did bounce around quite a while before eventually you realize the direction it was going. And basically, we realized um, it wasn't going to go the way it did with Walter. It was going to go more of a commercialized direction.
Hmm.
I don't know that that's anything that any of us were used to. We
Right.
wanted to cling or hang on to the legacy of the past, to embrace the historical aspect. Um, and I guess we still do that because that's what is quality. That's what exists in the Twin Galaxies name is the legacy and what it produced.
Mhm. Yeah, you both can speak on this question, but this film, of course, also covers the allegations of fraud on Twin Galaxies. During that time, where did y'all find the strength to get through all of that? After, all of this amazing years of, letting people know about what Twin Galaxies was, this film comes out, and then all of a sudden, people start attacking. It must have felt pretty surreal to be in that situation. Walter?
Me? Okay. So anyway, it was surreal because because of the amount of negativity, that the internet generates a lot of unfair negativity.
Right.
Unfair negativity. So we had to kind of like go through that. But one thing that I didn't mention is that the creative processes I went through to do the music were also enhanced by the fact that I sit down and I practice transcendental meditation every day,
Mhm.
which is a really cool thing to add to your life. You do it 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, and it affects the way the brain works, the way the creativity works, the way the energy level, stuff like that. but it also is a calming influence. So the calming influence from practicing TM regularly was very helpful in me weathering the storm of negativity that was thrown at me and Billy on the internet. So that's my one of the biggest things I recommend. If you got negativity going on in your life, even if you don't have negativity going on in your life, if you sit and meditate the TM way, you actually will have a
Mm.
smoother sailing through life.
Billy, were you doing any meditation, or did you take it a different way?
Well, his
No, I
hot sauce.
yeah, I might have skipped the meditation. I might have been eating a lot of stuff with hot sauce on it.
Yep,
But
that's right.
the thing is, when the situation was very separated, and what I mean by that is when you took the players from the old Twin Galaxies, they were there to see things. They were there to see things as they happened. You couldn't tell them that things weren't real, or that they weren't a part of it, or that they didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't know what they were watching. They did. So, but most of them, um, maybe I don't want to say all of them, but most of them had gone on with normal lives, and they weren't a part of any of the negativity. It was a different group of people who came forward. They had their own agenda, and there also wasn't any convincing them or explaining things or the way that they happened in the past. One thing about the internet is generally things go there, they fester, they boil up, and you don't necessarily have the opportunity to defend yourself in a proper manner. So we thought it just had to run its course, it had to burn its way out. The truth would eventually rear its head, and of course, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe it is still happening at this point.
Right. Hey, Walter, it was amazing to watch you, quote unquote, learn to sing, right? You went to these uh, vocal coaches, and you realize, where the places that you could get better and things like that. What was it like realizing that you had that inside of you to be able to push that voice out a little bit more and really fill up that chest of yours?
Well, well, first of all, it felt kind of good. At the same time, it was very challenging. I love the fact that the voice had improved. And on some of the songs that I have on my recorded CD that comes out on June 9th, I think it's June 9th, the song I actually sound pretty good, much to my pleasant surprise, because I never was a singer. I never sang in public. That was it. That was the beginning of my singing career.
Mhm.
But one thing that I'm not pleased with, I'm disappointed to see how much work it takes to develop my voice, because I didn't want to work that hard, because I just turned 76 yesterday. My birthday was
Oh,
yesterday.
happy birthday.
So thank you. And so I'm just very disappointed that it takes that much work and that much focus and that much time to develop the voice. When
Yeah.
I, when, I-
Walter,
when I'd rather watch YouTube shorts or something.
Walter, if you want your name written in history, you have to be willing to pay the price.
Yeah. A Billy quote.
Right.
Just when we need a Billy quote in the nick of time.
My wife and I always joke because she's a lifelong learner, probably like Walter, and more like Billy. I don't want to learn anything else. I want to get better at what I'm able to do, right? But you can't teach an old dog new tricks, that type of thing. Billy, has there ever been anything in your life where you're like, oh, I'd like to learn how to do that?
Well, I think everything in life is a learning process. I mean, when I got married, I had this vision that I could be like the ultimate husband. And then when I had kids, I had the vision that I could be like the ultimate dad. So, yes, I was always very demanding, but it tended to be things that I liked, enjoyed, that were in front of me that I focused on, and I just wanted to maximize it. Walter going off into the world of music, again, not that he didn't like music and appreciate it, he
Right.
did, but he was going off to a far off land. And I guess it was adventurous for him.
Yeah. You don't have a far off land though for yourself that you think about ever so often?
Uh, Not at this point, no. I actually like very, very much where I am. And the future that I see mapped out uh, with my wife and children, um, that'll eventually lead us to a far off land. We just don't exactly know which one.
What's your favorite Walter Day song?
Um, well, it's funny. What you were supposed to ask me is, what's your favorite song? And I was going to say Pac-Man Fever. But speaking of Walter's songs, I think I continually, I continually watch and listen and anticipate a new song. because many of the songs he sings, because they come from heartache or a time that there was heartache, um, I keep looking more and more for him to round the corner to a song that shows that he has arrived and now he's enjoying the journey that it took to get him there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Walter, you don't do a cover song of Pac-Man Fever for Billy, do you? And
I don't have that I don't have that in my distant goal.
I think if he did do that song, it would be called Game Over.
Walter, if
See, the thing is that someone's gonna see your show now, and they're gonna be an expert at AI, and they're gonna make an AI version of Billy singing Pac-Man Fever.
I think so.
It'll be all over. Yep.
What if you could point to one of your songs? Because I know there's, what, 130, 150, somewhere around there. I know all of them didn't get onto one album, but point to one of the ones on the album that really that you really resonate with or that really touches your heart.
Well, I Hold Me is the one that I sang twice in the course of the movie's presentation.
Right.
And the way it came out in the movie only generally resembles the way it actually sounds. So, in other words, there were a lot of nuances of the song that didn't get transferred into the performance, partly because it wasn't finished. But to me, and many people think it's maybe the prettiest song.
I'm not a gamer anymore. I played from probably age 5 to 15, somewhere around there. Every so often I'll play with my son on his console, but I'm 44 years on this earth, and the only regret I have about video games is that I was never able to beat Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So before I leave this earth in the next 44 years, hopefully, should I try to do that, or should I accept the fact that it's never going to happen? Billy?
Billy's the one that
Absolutely make the effort to make it happen. And what you should do, whether you actually write it down or if you feel you can carry it in your head, is track 1 month at a time. Track your performance, track your goals, see yourself. You'll get so far into it, you'll look back to where you began, and you will realize that when you began, you never thought you could make it to the point you were at. And that will continue to drive you forward day in and day out until you reach your goal, if that's truly what you want.
And that's a perfect segue into this film. Walter, when you present this film to your audience or to the audience, what do you hope they take from it as a message in terms of never giving up?
Well, of course, the motto of the film is never too late. Never too late. Because towards the end of these years, I began to have nightmares that I would never have it happen. It wasn't going to happen. That the incredible 40-year drive was going to crash and burn, and nothing was going to come out of it. And I actually had nightmares about it. That sadness, grief of this loss, but somehow managed to come to fruition. And I'm looking forward to the next 10 songs to be done on the next album. I've been already working on lyrics for them and stuff like that. So, just believe in yourself. And just believe in yourself, meditate regularly, and things will probably go good.
It's funny, that's the reaction he has as the person who was actually involved in it, looking from the outside as each day turned into each month into each year. Starting from 2014, I became more and more confident because I could see it unfold, and I realized it absolutely was going to happen. And there was no fear, or whatever fear there was, had dissipated. It's kind of funny. He sees it from the opposite form that I see it.
Right. Great mantra to live by, guys. Hey, Billy, Walter, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Again, congratulations on the new documentary. And Walter, we look forward to seeing your album hit the streets. And we'll let as many people know as possible.
What was your favorite moment in the movie?
Oh, I just love returning back to the first. I looked
King Kong.
King Kong, yeah, the Fistful of Quarters. I really enjoyed looking back on that, and then kind of seeing how everything kind of grew from that, and the different relationships and how they've been able to stick together for all this time. It's pretty interesting. So I really enjoyed that, and of course, I enjoyed you on stage at the end. It must have felt pretty amazing to finally do it. So.
Yeah, it was like you used the word surreal. It was quite surreal.
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you very much again. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye now.